ahora tenemos un panel de como 20 estrellas, ¿no? 5, 5, 5 y 5. Tenemos un firmamento aquí. Ahora, este panel de Realtors, de puros profesionales inmobiliarios. Así que la moderadora va a ser Jenny Reiter, así, bueno, Jennifer Reiter. Jenny Reiter. Felicidades, bienvenidos. A ver, por favor, se presentan.
Gracias, Vic. Today's panel is going to be in English. So, hello everyone, and thank you so much for being here. It's so nice to see so many friendly faces in the audience. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Jennifer Reichert, and like Victor said, I'll be the moderator for our last panel today. Joining me today to talk about this beautiful city of ours are my three guests. I'll start with the lovely Claudia Oliver. Hey, Clau. Clau was born in Monterey, but she was raised in Texas. And she is passionate about art, culture, and community building, something that is so clear to those of us who know her. Because Clau has been such a big advocate for the arts in San Miguel since she moved here in the year 2000. She joined the real estate community in the year 2008, and after taking a little hiatus, she came back in the year 2020. Thanks for joining us, Clau. Next, we have my dear friend Manuel Franco. Manuel's originally from Mexico City, but he's lived all over. He lived in England, in the US, and in several cities here in Mexico. He first moved here about 20 years ago and then bounced around a little bit more before settling back here in 2015 and joining the real estate community then. He's also a bit of a jack of all trades. Manuel's done a bit of everything from ranching to computer engineering, sales, bar and hotel owning. He's done it. Thanks for joining us, Manuel. And last but not least, we have a guy that's a bit of a personal hero of mine. My dad, Irvin Reichert. Irvin's from Mexico City as well, and like Manuel, he's also moved around a lot. He's lived in several countries and visited many, many more. He moved to San Miguel in 2004 and joined the real estate community shortly after. Aside from being an amazing dad, Irvin is also an engineer, an advocate of San Miguel like Clau, and the man responsible for bringing us all together today. So thank you, Dad, and welcome.
Thank you.
All right, so let's talk about San Miguel. What is it about this place? Why is it so magical? I mean, here we sit, a group of people with nomadic tendencies, all throwing the roots. So that's my question to you today. What is it about San Miguel that first attracted you, and why do you continue to stay? I'll start with Clau.
So thank you very much. Why do I stay and what's magical about San Miguel? I feel that one of the answers is that it's multifaceted. And so you can have a very diverse kind of a person here, and yet somehow they have an angle which is amazing. I mean, there's the surface stuff that's beautiful, weather, it's beautiful, architecture, there are cobblestones. But once you get even deeper beyond that, for me, I feel there are myths that we are on top of quartz crystals. And whether you believe this myth or not, what I do know and what I do realize is that people come into a sense of themselves. Like, who was I before the before the stress, before the ambition? You somehow have a moment to ground it. Feel that there is something mystical that does surround us. And I do feel that because of that, a lot of people that don't normally speak about, let's say, woo-woo subjects or speak in esoteric language, as soon as you could be like a hardened hedge fund guy from New York City, whatever, and then 2 or 3 days in, they're like, here. And so you start to hear a lot more of this like feel-good thing. I'm like, wow, there is something here, the San Miguel effect. Beyond everything else for me, personally, I feel that it's crucial to safeguard the community. I do feel that San Miguel has been a very interesting example of what can happen when you have a foreign population here living here. We've had, it's been around 80 years. First, since he's Allende, Sterling Dickinson, and all that started here. So we have a very long history of artistic expats that have come here. And because of that, I feel that a lot of women. There's been a lot of very, very strong women starting with the Vargas, you know, and like Betty, and the original as honest. And I do feel that this is the town for extremely feisty, strong women, of which we could probably carry on the origins of this. But I do feel something about that is what you said.
Yeah, Manuel, you're up.
Well, for me, it was, first of all, I lived in big cities, and I moved to learn that I like small towns. So living in a small town, to me, it gives you a better level of living. You have more time, you have more freedom. But the big thing about San Miguel was I was beginning a family. I had a young girl, and I was living in a small town. And in a small town, there's not that many schools, there's not that many activities. And San Miguel has this incredible art cultural level and all this multicultural people that live here that makes it very, very attractive to raise children. And it's also very safe. So the safety to give to feel safe to leave your children, to let them walk around. Like it's one of the few places where we still feel terrible fear about letting children walk around in the streets. So that was a big thing for me. The magic thing is part of it.
Magic helps. Magic always helps.
Magic helps.
All right.
Well, as you know, I come from a big city too, and I never thought I could live in a very small town like this. Who cares? Right? But yes, the pink quartz crystals, they help. They help. Really. Multicultural, yes, of course. The ease of living. Everything is easy in San Diego. The other day, was it, 3 days ago, I had 9 appointments in one day. You couldn't do this in Mexico City. You couldn't do this anywhere else. Well, of course, which is. And the other thing that Claudia was saying is, I'm a woman. I've always been, and I've always stated that we should be governed by women. We'll be a better world, I'm sure. In a way, we are. I know. And well, kudos to women too. Kudos to the dragons. I love it. Love that.
I love those answers. I can identify with all of them. Okay, so because it is such a magical town, we have people come here and want to visit us all the time, right? So I know that, like me, you guys probably all have in your back pocket an arsenal of tips of experiences that the people who come to visit you cannot miss. So, well, what do you ask your friends to go do when they come here? What do you suggest?
I mean, one of the things that I find is the most crucial thing to do, especially if you come in from a big city or you're just coming from whatever, and if you come in for a weekend, I definitely say get to the hot springs. Why? Because if you think about these hot springs, we are on geology, which effectively does go through quartz crystals. Therefore, the way I describe it, and it tends to work, is like, why not go dip yourself in some quartz crystal infused hot spring waters, and let all of the stuff that you're carrying from wherever you're coming from wash away and reset. And they'll meet you later, and you're good to go. Start your holiday.
Great endorsement.
Start there, yeah. It's like start it there. I feel the hot springs is one of our most valuable resources, especially in a place that we are a desert. We can feel the warmth of lawn and grass, and the water itself, I feel is medicinal. And there's a lot more. I can go on and on. But I feel for me, top tip, get to the water.
Come on, Manuel. Yeah.
Well, to me, there's so many things. There are so many things that you can. Depends a lot on who you're talking to, and their age group and a lot of things. But to me, the hot springs are a big one. The food, the restaurants. I'm a big fan of eating in San Miguel. There's so many. It's amazing the amount of restaurants that there are.
300.
Huh?
300.
200, but they're all like most of them are actually amazing. Like they're really good restaurants. Like people that come from New York and made.
Name a couple of your favorites.
Uh,
You knew it was coming.
Casiega right now is one of the top restaurants. Salvajes, the food is amazing. It's crazy what he's doing there. And Cienfuegos is very, very good, but it's far from Centro.
Not the car in San Miguel.
I really miss Azaria, like when it comes back. That was amazing. But the food is amazing, and there's always art and culture to visit. There's always an art gallery that's opening, or an art exhibition, or a concert, or a festival, or something. So whenever somebody comes, it's like, oh, there's a jazz festival. You can go here, 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 and there's music.
Chamber music.
Yeah. There's always something that is.
Leonard Bernstein.
The other element.
You have to turn it on.
All right, Dad, how about you? What are the things you recommend?
Well, the realtor in me will have to tell these two guys that I'm part owner of a little place called Catalagua, where we have the formal water, so you can have your own piece of land with your own coal. Yes, of course. No, but not kidding aside, yes, of course, the restaurants. Tio Lucas is one of my favorites, and because I love Max also. But there's so much you can do in San Miguel. Festivals like Alaca. When are you going to bring that up?
We can ask our mayor that.
Okay.
Moving on.
Moving on. Okay.
Just to reference that, I feel as a cultural creator, I feel Dia de los Muertos, the purpose of it was to activate it. And right now, and we'll talk about tourism, but certainly there are other things to do in San Miguel which can spread out the touristic thing. I do, and we'll speak about this. There's something to be said about over tourism.
Yeah.
And what the effects can bring along. And so I feel like with Day of the Dead, Dia de los Muertos, it's good to celebrate what we have, but also know that San Miguel is beautiful all the time, and we can look towards inviting visitors at different points of the year. I'm no longer that interested in bringing that many people to San Miguel at that one weekend.
Okay. Yeah, kind of what happened with San Miguel, no?
Exactly.
But we have horseback riding, we have hot air ballooning,
So
we have so many things.
So much.
Yeah, the hot air balloon is totally worth it.
It is.
Good reason to wake up that early.
Yep.
All right, so San Miguel de Allende, real estate paradise, as the title of our panel would suggest. And you guys as realtors are uniquely positioned to have an opinion on the matter. So what makes San Miguel so ideal?
Well, again, I'm going to turn this back into the female and particularly like as a female land investor. And this is like coming from a person that's mostly been non-linear, traveled a lot, pretty nomadic, bohemian. The notion that I could have a place in San Miguel. I invested in my first property in 2004 here, and it's gone 4x. So another property I got in 2008. I need to value it, but it's at least 2x minimum. So in terms of, and what I like about real estate here, it allows for instinct. Maybe like you buy a bad neighborhood. What's a bad neighborhood? Actually, can anyone tell me of a bad neighborhood in San Miguel?
A neighborhood that needs a few more years to be a great one.
I'm saying like, wow, I got the Aurora. Guess what?
Yeah.
I got, it's San Luis. There's a lot of, right now, Alcocer. So I feel as a real estate person, when I try and motivate people, especially women, girlfriends, like, hey, what's next? I really feel very coherent and aligned and passionate. Like, believe me, if you invest in San Miguel, you're gonna have double value. One, you're gonna have your money invested go up. And two, you will have access into the magic of being a part of this community. And so it's a double-edged thing where I feel like there's genuinely such a good reason to be a part of here. Like, I feel San Miguel picks you. If you're not coming to San Miguel, I say go back home, clean up your karma, and see what can happen. Because I do feel, yeah, it does. And I feel it's very, even though we are now a city, even though we are now, the magic that is here, it's up to us to safeguard it And that's about community building and also understanding what's truly relevant. In terms of real estate, a lot of the places that I thought like, ugh, this is growing, we're no longer a pueblo, oh my God, look at all these developments, look at all this and that. We're now a city. And actually who lives inside of these developments are people. And so it's up to us to create the communities that we want. It's up to us to not lock ourselves inside of gated communities and think that there's nothing outside. No, it's how are we all adding into the pie? And I see some of the developments that I thought, wow, I see the rental market. Jesus, that would have been a great investment back in the day. Like, you know, I'm now shifting my opinion into advising on in terms of real estate. What's a great investment for you? How are you going to make that money grow, and how are you going to live well, and how are you going to rent it? So all about real estate here, and I feel it's a solid investment, and so that's why I stand behind it.
Room.
Yeah. Sorry.
Well, yeah, the real estate market in San Miguel, well, you could go down to, for Mexico, the fact that it's in US dollars, that gives it a lot of solidity. And in 10 years, the worst thing that has happened is that it got stale a little bit, but it never goes down. It's always going up, always increasing in value. Me too, I bought a property 3 years ago and I was worth twice as much. And I didn't buy it like in Centro or in a crazy like price area. I got a good deal and now it's a good deal. And I think I was hearing earlier that it is really hard to get the low income housing, and that is something that needs to be worked on, because people that work we need to find places to be able to have lower price. Everything is the good part about it, it's all increasing in prices. The bad part about it is it's getting unaffordable for people that have regular jobs. But I love living here, and it just comes so easy to convince people to come to live here. And like you said, they come from New York or big cities and they stay here for a couple of days and then they don't leave. Sometimes it will be a problem. It takes a couple of years for the town to spit them out.
All right.
Well, as realtors, we are the ambassadors of San Miguel. We open the door, or we safeguard that door, and we should be very careful on who we let in, who we don't, even though it's not 100% up to us. But we can put our grain of sand into that and safeguard. Let's take care of who we invite into San Miguel. No, I would like to say that. So we don't have to speak out that many people.
All right, be selective with your invitations, everyone. You get that? Don't invite just anybody. All right, so you guys touched on this a little bit. There's some people out there who think that San Miguel is slowly dying by tourism, and that the thing that once made it so lovely, so charming, so magical is getting lost because it's getting so big. And then on the other hand, you have people who say that tourism is really the engine that propels the city forward, and that we ought to welcome everyone with open arms. So what are your opinions on the matter, guys? And I'm gonna switch it around a bit and hand the mic back this way.
Well, I think San Miguel is, of course, a tourism destination. It's a wellness destination. It's a gastronomic destination. It's a wedding destination. Yes, all of these things, but it's also a real estate destination. People come here just to invest in real estate. So it's each and every one of those, and it's all of them together. You cannot say that it's this or that exclusively, right? And I guess tourism is what has made San Miguel great. I welcome it completely.
Manuel?
Well, I have mixed feelings about that.
Join the club.
As a realtor, I love it. Come on. Everybody come to San Miguel. Everybody come visit. Ching. I love that part. But I did live, I lived in Playa del Carmen, and I lived through that change of being a small town and then boom, turning into a monster. And the change was horrible. The energy, the crime, all that was really bad. San Miguel is a different kind of monster because it's different kind of tourism. The tourism that comes here is a little bit more cultured, it's a little bit more refined, and a little bit more energetically nice. But
It's the crystals.
The universe.
crystals attract us. But anyway, I do think that we do need tourism, but there has to be a little bit of control on it. I have no idea how to do that, but yes, I think we need the tourism, but not that.
Not so much.
So, one of the hiatus things that I did was I got an MA in Baltimore about cultural sustainability. So I got an MA in cultural sustainability. My final paper was about stakeholder-driven regenerative tourism in the state of Guanajuato post-pandemic. What the hell does that mean? When I was doing these festivals, and it was very much about, like many of us, we're expats, we come here, we love San Miguel, we want everyone to know about San Miguel, oh my God, San Miguel de Allende. So one of the things I do, or have done in the past, has been to create large-scale buzz, like getting people naked on the streets of San Miguel, Spencer Tunic shoot, or La Calaca, or just, I have in the past been very pro, let's get media going. And while this is very good, and we got all of these accolades for the best city and the best city and the best city, I started to realize that there was an unmitigated, it was like, well, a lot of us worked a lot for this cultural festival to happen, and yet who really benefited? I think developers benefited. I feel like the government benefited. The people, but what about my graffiti writers in Guadalupe? Or what about these people? Or what about the people being priced out of their own homes? So nowadays, when I think about tourism, I do think about who is the true benefactor of this. And so when I do that, when we say stakeholder driven, one of the things that, in analyzing like who benefits from the Day of the Dead or this and that, I really loved how we had an industry of young women, makeup artists, making dollars, a lot of money from pintacaritas or from this. I like to see when truly the tourism dollars will go directly towards people that are creating cultural vehicles for us to go on. I would like to see, there were graffiti tours by Americans for Americans. I would like to see the graffiti artists themselves being the ones to benefit from that kind of thing. So when we speak about tourism, I like to say, who is benefiting from this tourism? I like the wedding industry to have the guys that do the little trinkets, make me 100 of these because I want to see always when tourism comes here, and then the second thing is like, how am I gonna give back? So if I'm a tourist, I want to learn basket weaving. I want to learn from these things. So there's educational tourism. There is ways to give back. There's gastronomical tourism. So like in what way are our origins, cultural origins, being exalted and directly benefiting from tourism? Like this is something, I think tourism is the way we live. It's one, but not our main driver. And I think intelligent tourism. I don't feel attracting the masses. I do feel, personally, I have gone away from a big public spectacle into designing touristic offerings that are very, one could say, elite. But at the same time, what they're looking for is silence. What they're looking for is direct access to the señora that makes the ceremonial otomi things. This, for me, how flashy you are. It's not about yachts or this or that or the next. It's about person-to-person, unique cultural content that can open your heart. That's where I want to see tourism go.
That was an incredible answer, Clau. Thank you. Well, it's inevitable, right? San Miguel is going to continue to grow.
Yes.
And I would like to know what advice you have on things that the city could implement to make sure that this growth is sustainable. And I know you touched on a little bit of that, Clau. But also more than that is what are your pieces of advice to individuals? What can the citizens of San Miguel do? What can the tourists, the visitors, what can we all do to make sure that we're pitching in to do our part for the city and making sure that this stays a lovely place?
Educate yourself. That's the first thing. This morning we had a keynote speaker, Maestra Adriana Ortega, and she spoke about the history of San Miguel, and it was such an amazing topic that she brought up. And I made a commitment. I'm going to make one or two courses on the history of San Miguel from the real estate perspective, and why we should, as realtors, teach not only our tourists, our buyers, but the local people to be proud and to know about their own heritage and to be proud of it, so that we can again be the ambassadors of San Miguel. That's one thing. And another thing, like Fabian Trujillo just left, he's in charge of most of the urban planning of San Miguel, and he was talking about the sustainability. So what we can do is we can promote those developments that do take nature, recycling, sustainability, clean energy into consideration, right? And kind of give him a plus at least, right? And give him a kudos, and let's promote those kind of ways. That's my greatest sense.
My 2 cents.
Well, I agree that one of the things that is very important is the green thing, to have more plants, more green areas, more lungs planted in developments and in the city itself. I think choosing who we invite over is important. And I don't know, what can we do as a community? I guess we can do more. San Miguel is amazing in the way that there's so many nonprofit organizations, but they don't get enough exposure. So maybe doing more things to expose those organizations somehow. Go girl.
Actually, one of the main motivators for me to get back into real estate was that as I observed the city growing and I observed the cultural landscape, and I observe all of these new constructions, and I see the people that are inhabiting these new developments, I think, how are you being welcomed into the town? One of the main ways that I ran a magazine and a website called Portal San Miguel, which was like the Portal San Miguel. Therefore, my job was to invite people to constantly go to social outings. And what the social outings were 90% of them were fundraisers for Patronato por Niños, Feed the Hungry, or this one or that one. To come into San Miguel, you had naturally a philanthropic key given to you that on any given day you could go to a social event and buy said wonderful piece of art or this and that, but it had a direct and transparent, and I can tell you because I'm the person that goes to see what's going on. And there is, for me, as we grow into a city, there is a true need to integrate into this new community. You can call San Miguel your home, in my opinion, as soon as you start to give back into the community that's welcoming you. This is very important, and this is one of the things that motivated me a lot with Coldwell Banker, who I'm with. I like the fact that at least the discussion on the table is like, great, we're making a lot of revenue here, we're welcoming new people, success, 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 and how are we giving back? And so this is something that I feel as realtors, we have such a strong key. And I feel almost as if every time that you make a sale or welcome a person here or a long-term rental, it's about like, by the way, the best way that you can, fit in or be welcomed into this community is to get involved in something that will make relevant impact into this community. That's the bottom line. And guess what? It could be fun. You're just, you go and hang out, and you go to your little, whatever it is that you need to do to support whatever it is organization, small or big. And in my opinion, this is what is most needed to educate the newcomers about the wonderful community of giving back, because that's what I feel is key to this place.
I love that. Thank you, Clau. And I know that that's something that you have truly done throughout the years. So thank you for that. I think the only thing that I would add to that is think about the environment, get the composting service, demand that the city give us a functioning recycling program, like let's take care of this planet, because otherwise, Elon Musk is going to have to fly us all to Mars. Who wants that? All right, everyone, that is all that we have time for today. So thank you for being here. And if you're thinking about visiting, but you're not cool, remember, stay home.
We'll spin you out.
We'll spin you out. Alright, that's a wrap.
No,
So that's a wrap.
Yo también.
¿Tienes mi teléfono?
Okay, oh.
No, está bien.